Section 11 of the Adventures of Gerard. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. How the Brigadier saved the army. Continued. I was lying there with the one thought still consuming me, how to wait a few hours and to get at that pile of faggots above my head, when the door of my prison opened and a man entered. Had my hands been free I should have flown at his throat, for it was none other than de Pombal. A couple of brigands were at his heels, but he ordered them back and closed the door behind him. "You villain!" said I. "Hush!" he cried. "Speak low, for I do not know who may be listening, and my life is at stake. I have some words to say to you, Colonel Gerard. I wish well to you as I did to your dead companion. As I spoke to you beside his body I saw that we were surrounded and that your capture was unavoidable. I should have shared your fate had I hesitated. I instantly captured you myself so as to preserve the confidence of the band. Your own sense will tell you that there was nothing else for me to do. I do not know now whether I can save you, but at least I will try." This was a new light upon the situation. I told him that I could not tell how far he spoke the truth, but that I would judge him by his actions. "I ask nothing better," said he. "A word of advice to you. The chief will see you now. Speak him fair, or he will have you sawn between two planks. Contradict nothing he says. Give him such information as he wants. It is your only chance. If you can gain time something may come in our favour. Now I have no more time. Come at once, or suspicion may be awakened." He helped me to rise, and then, opening the door, he dragged me out very roughly, and with the aid of the fellows outside he brutally pushed and thrust me to the place where the guerilla chief was seated, with his rude followers gathered round him. A remarkable man was Manuelo, the Smiler. He was fat and florid and comfortable, with a big, clean-shaven face and a bald head, the very model of a kindly father of a family. As I looked at his honest smile I could scarcely believe that this was indeed the infamous ruffian whose name was a horror through the English army as well as our own. It is well known that Trent, who was a British officer, afterward had the fellow hanged for his brutalities. He sat upon a boulder and he beamed upon me like one who meets an old acquaintance. I observed, however, that one of his men leaned upon a long saw, and the sight was enough to cure me of all delusions. "Good evening, Colonel Gerard," said he. "We have been highly honoured by General Massena's staff. Major Cortex one day, Colonel Duplessis the next, and now Colonel Gerard. Possibly the Marshal himself may be induced to honour us with a visit. You have seen Duplessis, I understand. Cortex you will find nailed to a tree down yonder. It only remains to be decided how we can best dispose of yourself." It was not a cheering speech, but all the time his fat face was wreathed in smiles, and he lisped out his words in the most mincing and amiable fashion. Now, however, he suddenly leaned forward, and I read a very real intensity in his eyes. "Colonel Gerard," said he, "I cannot promise you your life, for it is not our custom, but I can give you an easy death, or I can give you a terrible one. Which shall it be?" "What do you wish me to do in exchange?" "If you would die easy I ask you to give me truthful answers to the questions which I ask." A sudden thought flashed through my mind. "You wish to kill me," said I. "It cannot matter to you how I die. If I answer your questions, will you let me choose the manner of my own death?" "Yes, I will," said he, "so long as it is before midnight tonight." "Swear it," I cried. "The word of a Portuguese gentleman is sufficient," said he. "Not a word will I say until you have sworn it." He flushed with anger and his eyes swept round toward the saw, but he understood from my tone that I meant what I said and that I was not a man to be bullied into submission. He pulled a cross from under his zammara, or jacket of black sheepskin. "I swear it," said he. Oh, my joy as I heard the words! What an end! What an end for the first swordsman of France! I could have laughed with delight at the thought. "Now, your questions," said I. "You swear in turn to answer them truly?" "I do, upon the honour of a gentleman and of a soldier." It was, as you perceive, a terrible thing that I promised, but what was it compared to what I might gain by compliance? "This is a very fair and very interesting bargain," said he, taking a notebook from his pocket. "Would you kindly turn your gaze toward the French camp?" Following the direction of his gesture, I turned and looked down upon the camp in the plain beneath us. In spite of the 15 miles, one could in that clear atmosphere see every detail with the utmost distinctness. There were the long squares of our tents and our huts, with the cavalry lines and the dark patches which marked the 10 batteries of artillery. How sad to think of my magnificent regiment waiting down yonder, and to know that they would never see their colonel again. With one squadron of them I could have swept all these cut-throats off the face of the earth. My eager eyes filled with tears as I looked at the corner of the camp where I knew that there were 800 men, any one of whom would have died for his colonel. But my sadness vanished when I saw beyond the tents the plumes of smoke which marked the headquarters at Torres Novas. There was Massena, and, please God, at the cost of my life his mission would that night be done. A spasm of pride and exultation filled my breast. I should have liked to have had a voice of thunder that I might call to them, "Behold, it is I, Etienne Gerard, who will die in order to save the army of Clausel." It was indeed sad to think that so noble a deed should be done, and that no one should be there to tell the tale. "Now," said the brigand chief, "you see the camp, and you see also the road which leads to Coimbra. It is crowded with your fourgons and your ambulances. Does this mean that Massena is about to retreat?" One could see the dark, moving lines of waggons with an occasional flash of steel from the escort. There could, apart from my promise, be no indiscretion in admitting that which was already obvious. "He will retreat," said I. "By Coimbra?" "I believe so." "But the army of Clausel?" I shrugged my shoulders. "Every path to the south is blocked. No message can reach them. If Massena falls back the army of Clausel is doomed." "It must take its chance," said I. "How many men has he?" "I should say about 14,000." "How much cavalry?" "One brigade of Montbrun's division." "What regiments?" "The 4th Chasseurs, the 9th Hussars, and a regiment of cuirassiers." "Quite right," said he, looking at his notebook. "I can tell you speak the truth, and Heaven help you if you don't." Then, division by division, he went over the whole army, asking the composition of each brigade. Need I tell you that I would have had my tongue torn out before I would have told him such things had I not a greater end in view? I would let him know all if I could but save the army of Clausel. At last he closed his notebook and replaced it in his pocket. "I am obliged to you for this information, which shall reach Lord Wellington to-morrow," said he. "You have done your share of the bargain. It is for me now to perform mine. How would you wish to die? As a soldier you would no doubt prefer to be shot, but some think that a jump over the Merodal precipice is really an easier death. A good few have taken it, but we were unfortunately never able to get an opinion from them afterward. There is the saw, too, which does not appear to be popular. We could hang you, no doubt, but it would involve the inconvenience of going down to the wood. However, a promise is a promise, and you seem to be an excellent fellow, so we will spare no pains to meet your wishes." "You said," I answered, "that I must die before midnight. I will choose, therefore, just 1 minute before that hour." "Very good," said he. "Such clinging to life